Why is anime so obsessed with America? Anime has changed, and no, I'm not referring to produce enough colored pencils to make E-cups the standard size for anime girls here. I'm referring to the American influence in anime, such as Attack on Titan, where themes of war, survival, and patriotism are reminiscent of American war dramas.
これが本物の敬礼だ。心臓を捧げよう。
Death Note. While Death Note is set in Japan, its exploration of law, justice, and morality feels very Western. The cat-and-mouse game between Light Yagami and L is reminiscent of detective stories common in American literature and media. The one-shot sequel even features Donald Trump as a character, highlighting how American politics influence the narrative. Ghost in the Shell, 1995, which pays tribute to the American cyberpunk genre, Blood Blockade Battlefront, set in a surreal New York City in 91 days, unfolding in 1930 Chicago, show how America has crept into the heart of anime. During the last 5 decades, anime has become married to different cultures, from Japan itself to the furthest parts of Switzerland and Europe. Even 91 Days and Ghost in the Shell are part of the multicultural exchange. However, if you look closely enough with a keen eye, you'll realize something interesting. It's that more often than not, the groom of anime lore is America. The inspiration from American geography, culture, and literature is sometimes so uncanny that you could even say that anime is obsessed with the country. I mean, I would be too. Just look at those humongous McDonald's portion sizes. No wonder 40% of the country is classified as obese. Now I know what you're thinking. In today's digital age, it's no surprise that American ideals have crept into Japanese anime. And to some extent, you're right. But that's only a small part of the story. Less than 10%, in fact. There's much more to how America became anime's unexpected muse than just the rise of the internet. After a lot of thought, I've come to realize why mangakas and anime studios consistently weave American elements into their world-ending plots. Maybe it's not the anime that's obsessed with America, but rather that America is obsessed with anime. Let's explore how the American dream came to anime. Japan and America's crossover hasn't always been the prettiest. Long before Star and Stripe battled Tomura Shigaraki to save Japan in My Hero Academia, Japan was a secluded island nation, largely cut off from the rest of the world. Not many knew about its existence, certainly not America. But then on July 8, 1853, American Commodore Matthew Perry arrived at the Tokyo Bay Harbor, thus establishing a trading route with Japan, something which the island nation hadn't had in nearly 200 years. Fast forward about a century and it's D-Day. America drops bombs on Japan, and there is immeasurable damage to the country. Many historical pieces of anime before the events of World War II were lost, but as the country begins to rebuild itself, there's a lengthy American occupation at play. One can argue that when American culture initially started dissolving into Japan, echoes of this can be seen in classic as well as modern anime like Hellsing Ultimate, Attack on Titan, and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Where Attack on Titan draws direct inspiration from the American military structure and tradition, Hellsing Ultimate depicts Britain's secret service employing the vampire Alucard. On the other hand, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood features themes of war, patriotism, and hot blondes, a combination all the time seen in American narratives. Post the Second World War, American culture, economic, and social values began to sneak into Japanese culture. Maybe not as strongly, but once the integrity of something has been breached, it doesn't matter how small the perforation is. Ideals are sure to be influenced sooner or later. With the elephant in the room out of the way, after World War II, Japan's anime and manga industry began to re-establish itself. The 60s saw the revival of anime. Works like Dororo and Tales of the Ninja slingshot interest in the medium. Anime was resurfacing, but it was also very true to Japan's folklore. Since international broadcasting wasn't a thing, anime was made to inspire the locals, and not teenagers halfway across the globe with their VPNs on. Fist of the North Star was a post-apocalyptic reimagining of Japan, while Grave of Fireflies was Studio Ghibli's gut-wrenching take on life during World War II. The farthest most anime in the 80s wandered from Japanese folklore was to familiar Chinese tales, with the prime example being Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball, a work enkindled by the story of Sun Wukong from the classical Chinese literature journey to the West. But then anime took an interesting turn when the internet boomed, and so did the representation of America in the media after it. The golden age of anime is often referred to as the 90s. And if you look at the anime of that time, it's apparent why. With trade and the internet booming during the 80s, and then more in the 90s, the crossover of information between the East and the West was surging. And arguably the best example of this is in the cyberpunk genre. It originated when the American-Canadian author William Gibson penned his masterpiece Neuromancer. Neuromancer followed a mercenary named Henry Case in the dystopian underworld of Chiba City, Japan. Robots, AI, the net, these terms propelled readers into the future. Neuromancer made you imagine what the future would be like. It was a feeling like that one that makes us assume flying cars will exist 100 years from now, even though suckers from 200 years ago said the same thing. In the years following 1984, Gibson's literary art reached Japan, and it became the catalyst of the cyberpunk genre. Ghost in the Shell is considered to be a cult classic of the 1990s, a pioneering piece of the cyberpunk anime, written in the same vein as Neuromancer, drawing a direct parallel to it yet superseding it in some aspects. Having said that, all art is derivative, so if it wasn't for Neuromancer, Ghost in the Shell wouldn't exist. Ghost in the Shell is the earliest example of how an American work influenced Japanese anime, and it certainly won't be the last. Another reason why anime has become so infatuated with America might be the allure of the American dream, where anyone can make it big if they just work hard enough, or win the lottery. For animation studios, it's like a gold mine of mythos, offering endless material to draw from. Because what's more dramatic than chasing a dream, only to find yourself stuck in New York traffic? Whenever an anime plot goes to a global scale, it's always America that's being invaded by aliens. It's like Japan and America are the entire world, while there's no acknowledgement at all of the other countries. In Monster's 74 episodes, you're trekking across Germany, Japan, and France. It's one of the rare examples where anime goes beyond the scope of America. But then America's influence of literature, Hollywood productions, and technological advancements is so much that it's a dream come true for mangakas, who are on the hunt for ideas. The 2006 anime Black Lagoon depicts the city of Rowanpur, where American, Russian, and Thai mercenaries roam the streets creating chaos, all while the Japanese salaryman struggles to live life side by side with a tsundere. The 2007 anime Baccano portrays a series of adventures spread across time, from people on a voyage from God knows when to a mob story set in the 19th century. Then there's Trigun, a late 90s classic that's based on the American Wild West stereotype of a gunslinger drifting across a desert landscape. All three anime have Western storytelling techniques, fashion and design choices, as well as character archetypes. This is Hollywood 101 stuff that's been booming because American cinema has become so widespread. There aren't many cinema productions outside of America's Hollywood that can deliver the same level of quality, and because Hollywood naturally follows American historical plots, those ideas have easily bled into anime since Japan, as well as the rest of the world, consumes American media. So one big reason why anime is obsessed with America is that America just has abundant, near endless mythos that are perfect for fictional settings needed in anime. There's an expression in my country along the lines that the Japanese say if you buy our products, and there's even a screw loose, we'll travel halfway across the globe just to tighten it. It's surreal how Japan has developed so rapidly in such a short time after World War II. The level of quality in Japan is unmatched, whether that's in vehicles, tech, or anime production. As advanced as America is, there's a counter-argument in that America, Europe, and the rest of the world are just as obsessed with Japanese anime as it is the opposite. The Polish-American hybrid studio CD Projekt Red made Cyberpunk 2077, a AAA dystopian game for consoles and PC. However, when they wanted to adapt it into an animated show, instead of making one themselves or outsourcing to a local American studio, they chose to hand their IP over to the Japanese studio Trigger. Trigger made Cyberpunk Edgerunners, and the anime ended up winning Crunchyroll's 2022 Anime of the Year award. That's like the Nobel Prize of the anime industry. Now, what was supposed to be a one-off animated show has reportedly been greenlit to have a sequel. That's what happens when you have a blockbuster production quality from Japan. God knows what Edgerunners would have ended up as if someone besides Trigger had done it. Quality does matter, and maybe America's equally obsessed with Japan for that reason. Yen is the main currency in anime, but as far as the real world goes, the dollar runs the show. I don't know which country you're watching this from, but just introspect your economy. 9 times out of 10, your national currency will fluctuate with the dollar. Money is always a factor, especially in an industry as volatile as anime. A single episode of anime like Demon Slayer can cost upwards of $1 million. Most studios can't survive on just catering to the domestic audience. Anime studios go bankrupt often. Classic anime like Samurai Champloo, Gangsta, and Dead Man Wonderland were all created by Studio Manglobe, a studio that went bankrupt in 2016 because none of their shows found a fan following even half the size of Power's Crown Jewels. Tending to an American audience by not fixating on cultural subjects only a Japanese native would know makes anime much more palatable to people abroad. And with the US being one of the largest markets for anime, incorporating American elements helps make anime more relatable and appealing to Western audiences. That's why animation houses have to take into account a wider audience while simultaneously working day and night to deliver stellar visuals. Just look at the eyes of the poor old chaps at MAPPA. The last time these guys saw their wives was probably when No Game No Life came out. Their kids probably think they went out for a pack of cigarettes, but in reality, they're trapped in a MAPPA warehouse, being worked to the bone, animating Hollow Purple and Makima's bust. Had Manglobe's Gangsta and the other anime more hype surrounding them, they might have yielded a better return on the millions spent on each episode. International audiences help anime gain a broader following and in turn, bring the big bucks home since costs are mad. So you can credit insane production costs as another reason why anime has become more America obsessed, because survival otherwise is just too darn difficult in this day and age. Perhaps the final reason for anime's American obsession is the investment opportunities. While opening up to the US audience definitely gets a broader following, the US economy is the biggest in the world. There's more money there than in Japan, so it's natural for anime productions to target that audience. Anime merch sells at a higher rate in America on Amazon than on a website like Alibaba, where you get 100 Tsunade bikini stickers for the $1. Additionally, animating the humongous honkers of the High School DxD cast takes days of the animator's pay. So, there's a need for huge funding as well. Who better could there be to serve as an investor than the conglomerate of America? And that takes us full circle with the CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk Edgerunners bit we talked about before. The American economy is like a gold rush for Japanese anime studios. With anime merchandise being exported abroad, with a heftier price tag to boot, it just makes sense to be obsessed with the American demographic. Don't you lie to me, I'm pretty sure at least one of your relatives has told you that they're moving to America to settle down, because they think they'll make more money there. So, to answer the big mystery about why America is a fundamental pillar of anime, I've laid out a pile of reasons. But from those, there's one that just reigns supreme over the rest. In hindsight, the culprit is that the American culture has been presented so well in mass media, whether it's through books like Neuromancer, or an entire film series on gunslinging diehards like Indiana Jones. They've had an everlasting impression on studios and directors within Japan, because of their unique ways of storytelling. American stories have inspired them to push the medium forward in different directions, and naturally the anime produced as a result are often like mirages of what American artwork they're inspired by. As Blade Runner is to Psycho Pass, as A Perfect Day for Banana Fish is to Banana Fish, and as countless others are to countless others. As for what the future holds, anime's inspiration from various cultures, especially from America, isn't going to dwindle. While Death Note only touched on the US in 2007, its sequel One Shot literally had Trump buying the eponymous notebook for reasons unknown. Well, now that you think of it, he probably wanted to kill Biden. Lucky for him, Biden's like an amnesiac corpse walking if there ever was such a thing. Anime of the future will lean on American culture, but that doesn't mean that the signature Japanese texturing is going to become any less. There's no anime without Japan, and the anime industry is just too smart to ignore that fact. We're in safe hands, so I'm not worried. And I'm instead looking forward to what new catalog of anime each season will bring.
That's quite a view!
Watch the hands, old man!